and was told that he wasn't coming.
Maria, you're for, it's not coming.
It's not coming, and Joe isn't coming, so we do have to do about it.
No.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Fine. Call to order the October 2022 Platinum Rose Family Meeting. We'll start with roll call.
Chairperson Linnea Bailey,
Here.
Vice Chair Cody Abney,
Here.
Panelist Joe Bloom, here. Panelist Ed Fleming, Panelist Joe Green, Council Liaison Aurora LeBrun, here.
Okay, so there are no public comments. We will start with the consent agenda. And then approval of classroom both panel minutes from August 18th, 2022.
I move that we approve them.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll vote on that. Panelist Bloom,
Yes.
Vice Chair Abney,
Yes.
and Chairperson Linnea.
Yes. And then approval of the meeting minutes from September 22nd.
That was the consent agenda.
That was-
You meant that's the voting on, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. The first item on the regular agenda is to discuss and take appropriate action on the compliance responsibilities and procurement rules for the drainage improvement project approved by council, funded by APRA and council liaison.
Okay, this is, I'm not gonna read, you have a chance to read this. I wanted to bring this to the meeting today and take advantage of Kay Freeze being here. We have now received the full amount from the, through the Texas Division of Emergency Management, which is the agency that is, has been delegated the management of these projects and funding from by the Department of Treasury. So, we have already, council has agreed that with the panel's recommendation that, the area on Westwood and Brook Hollow be the focus of this project for drainage. And, the ones are now, we have some difficulty, and this is not in the paper, we have some difficulty getting into the portal and trying to determine the status of the city, the status of the report. Maureen, would you like to talk to that?
We are in the portal for TDEM, and it's, it says there is that, we don't owe anything, which we don't owe any reports, but I'm unable to see what we've already turned in. So the good news is that we don't know anything, but the bad news is we don't know exactly what we should have turned in or what we did turn in. So we're gonna try and get the information there.
One of the things that I spent a lot of time reading this, one of the things that is good is that we, and if I say something I've already said, we received this money only because there was money left over. The federal government awarded the coronavirus relief funds, and at that time they had excess funds. So they came back to the states and said, all right, it's the money you distributed to those, what they call the non-eligible unit, you distributed to those cities that were not eligible to receive funds under the first go around, and it's based on population. So the cities receive, all cities in Texas. In Texas, the project has been delegated to the Division of Emergency Management because it is, the statute was enacted to assist cities with recovering from a pandemic, recovering and that is considered emergency and is the purview of the Texas Division of Emergency Management. Doesn't make, I didn't make. One thing that is good about being a small city is that we do not have the larger cities and the cities that have received over $1 million have very severe reporting requirements. They have to report monthly, they have to report, we do not. We do not have, so we are, at this time, we do not have any reporting that is required. We do not have, we do have to, once a year, which will be again next April, we should be expected, or we are expected to let them know where we are on the project. We have to have the funds obligated and the project completed by December 31st, 2024. All funds have to be spent by December 2026, and reports have to be completed at that time. The next steps for us, since the council has approved the panel's recommendation, is to do an assessment of the site, have a professional, have an engineering firm. What is it that it's going to take to fix that spot? And there's some overflow that's coming from the golf course. There's some number of issues. So today, we have K3's representative here, and Bailey and I met with him briefly, and we have asked for him to go back with his firm and tell them that we would like to begin the engagement towards the project and towards this. The only things that we have to, there's a reporting, once we begin the project, then we have some reporting requirements. And Maureen is very familiar with the reporting and the portals, having managed the reporting for the other emergency, for the FEMA award that we received for the first responders. And having worked with FEMA in the past, I was very impressed that she had no exceptions. When they came and audited, it was 100% of people. So we're not going to mess with her. She can do the reporting. So basically, you can read this and there's some, these are things that the council will not be involved with. Maureen and the new city manager will hopefully be here by the end of November. They will be responsible for all of this. And so any comments that you have, if you have any suggestions, K3 is going, this panel is responsible for these projects. And you'll be working with K3, and then once they need to come back to the panel and present recommendations, and it's up to the panel to accept, reject, or modify. So this is your project. Okay? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Any further discussion, Carmen?
How much money did they?
We have the full amount now is 400. We received 454. So that's, and they do not have to be, we do not have to match it. We do not have to match it with general revenues, and any fees that are paid to K3 would be paid out of the award, which of course has the disadvantage of producing money available for the project, but it also has the advantage that we would not be going into the general fund, and into the general fund, then we would have more. I mean,
Yeah.
We want to affect that otherwise.
So council is going to direct K3 to develop a plan of action to correct drainage issue.
Yes,
What's the timeline for us getting that plan back?
and I would like to suggest that recommend that you have, a priest needs to report to it, to you, or maybe, if you want to assign the vice chair.
Maybe, Vice Chair and I.
Mhm.
Because you were just given that directive today, we're not gonna put you on the spot with timeline now, but I believe,
Yeah,
can you get back to us with an
Yeah.
estimate?
yeah, so I was here a few meetings ago, Ryan Thomas, I'm the transportation lead with K3, so I'm here primarily for the chip seal discussion, but, I'll get back, with, AD Salinas, who you probably all know, our drainage lead, to, get started on this project, and we'll probably begin with making a visit out here, taking a look at the locations and develop an approach to present back. Would it come back to the panel first, I assume, and then to
Yes.
the council?
Yeah.
So when y'all, when I come out and look at it, would you imagine that there's gonna be engineers that you're gonna have to set up a total station and shoot grades and points and generally make a survey of the area?
Honestly, I don't know enough about the projects to really say. I mean, initially, we're just gonna come out and just look at it to assess what the problem is and develop a scope around that. But yeah, I would imagine it would require some surveying, at the locations to determine, get enough topographic data to work with.
You know, that'd be a great opportunity to get a survey of the Creekside Park property also. That's not connected with this committee panel, but in order to put improvements on it, it needs a survey, and I keep being told there's no survey on the property.
I think
If
that's,
it's already a survey crew in the neighborhood, it might be a savings to the city if K3s can be
yeah.
talking to that.
Yeah,
I agree.
We would use a sub-consultant for surveying, but yeah, we could have them look at that and maybe price that separately so that you can,
Yeah, it'd be,
separate funding.
it'd definitely be a different cost bucket that it would come out of, but
Yeah.
What I would like to do is, for his clarity and ours, if you would, and the chair would put together what you just said, and just put together, and that could be given to K3s, the guide that will be okay?
Yes, as long as,
we need council to approve the expenditure because it's outside of our purview.
We have, council has already approved this budget
Understand.
and has delegated the budget to you. But we're.
This is more parks and
this
rec
is
board
a
than.
different,
Yeah. So if you have something, if there is something that we think was going completely off the
I'll
mark,
send Jeff an email.
I'll give you a report on the meeting, I'll keep it posted. And then when I leave, whoever replaces me can take a little bit of that. But, no, seriously, I would like, if you would give them your expectations, whatever you want to call them, and then you meet with, that's how we did it with the comprehensive plan. Then we met with the K3 representative, and they knew exactly what we wanted. from
Understand.
them.
My expectation would be if the project is funded, then we need survey, engineering decision, needs to go out and bid. That-
well, and
Yeah.
since I would like to be informed, but it sounds like you should really take the lead on this.
No, I want to do it with you on that.
Okay,
Yeah. You just keep each other.
Try not to slow you down.
We have fun, why not send it out for bid?
That's good. I mean,
Okay.
we're getting to move. I had, at the, town hall, I had, two residents of that street that came over to me and said, we saw something on the Platinum Panel agenda. Is it true?
It is.
I said, yes, it is.
And I don't mean to skip a step there, of course, the solution has to go to council, but.
Yeah.
I kind of skipped to the part where we do stuff. Yeah.
So you have it.
We have that.
Very good.
Okay, now let's go to item 4.
Oh, and before I forget, next week, when Maureen is free, if you want to see the portal, if you want to show it, and if the other members would like tomorrow, well, it's up to her. Or,
We postpone it till next week.
yeah, she has this has been a real, there's about 6 or 7 agendas, so if you could do it, I
Okay.
don't have to be at one.
All right, we'll get together next week, and then I'll let you know if anyone wants to be involved in that.
I think
Because it'd be our responsibility going forward, we should know as much as we can.
even if you don't have to work to deal with it, you need to know what it's like.
Okay,
All right, that's,
okay. Now, to item 4, review, discuss, take appropriate action on the draft request for proposal for the small streets improvement project approved by council to be funded in the 22-23 general revenue budget. I believe this is time for our Cape representative to go through, Brian, are you ready to
Right.
give us the report?
Sure. So we prepared a request for proposal document at the direction of the panel from the last meeting to include the 9 streets that are included: Country Lane, Country Court, Tremont Trace, Wildwood Circle, Overbrook Court, Garrison Trail, Woodview Court, Woodridge Circle, and Canyon Circle. And part of the bid, we had one of our inspectors come out and identify locations on the individual streets that would require some initial prep work. Areas that may need some type of patching or just leveling up in advance of applying the double chip and seal. So this has all been packaged together with all the standard required bid documents, contract documents, and so forth. And then the direction at the last meeting was to set it up such that there's a maximum guaranteed price of the $227,000 that's been budgeted for this project. On that point, I would note that I do have concerns that the quantity of work that we have here is likely going to exceed that amount. So some decisions will need to be made around that, whether you eliminate locations or to defer till a later time, or potentially get more funding from somewhere else.
Can I question you on that point?
Yeah, sure.
Are you looking at the aggregate counts when you think that, the cost overrun, because the aggregate sums in here, I mean, are we proposing that we replace all of the base material, the depth 6 inches under each repaired street?
Only at isolated locations. I mean, not the entire street, but just certain locations that are.
I would definitely agree with you saying that our reach is exceeding our grasp on this one, given the aggregate totals. I mean, that's a lot of aggregate. Yeah, it's a lot of diesel hauling it in here too. Well, when you go to make these repairs, would we have somebody like MLA out here doing geotech services on it to tell us if the base is sound, or what would you expect to see?
I think for something like this, I mean, I don't think that would be necessary, but I think, in order to save cost, I think if there's enough.
I may be confusing the things too, correct me if I'm wrong. There's aggregate that's in the chip seal, and then I was thinking the aggregate underneath it, the base
Right.
layer. Am I looking at the wrong line item
I
there?
think that's that hard.
Well, there's
Like Country Lane, you said aggregate 215 cubic yards, that's the aggregate that goes in the chip seal, right? Or is that the base aggregate?
that is, that's the aggregate that's in the chip seal.
Okay, I was looking at that incorrectly. There's no getting away from that. Okay, I'm sorry.
And most of the repair is just asphalt.
Okay.
I have a question on what is SCA? I looked, and there's all kinds of definitions, but the very first line, description, preparing road.
Which page are you on?
Like look under Country Lane on the quantity
Yeah.
estimate sheet. It says preparing right of way. I don't know what the unit STA means either. It's a good question, Luann.
But it's proportional, and it's,
Help me on that one.
it's somehow, I proportioned it out, and Country Lane's
I think it's a-
28%, the next one is 6.
I
So
believe
it's
it's a
proportional to the
station.
length.
Yeah, it's a length, probably a unit of 100 feet, a station is usually 100 feet.
Okay.
I bet we have that defined here somewhere.
I couldn't find it. But it's, well, we need 50 of them on Country Lane. You didn't know. 49. Okay, well,
Yeah,
it's probably just a component, but I thought somebody else.
I'm interested.
Yeah, I can, have to get back to you on that.
Okay, do we have any corrections? I think you already talked about, just the correlation between this quantity estimates sheet and the totals. One is, which one of them didn't seem like it was enough quantity of asphalt.
Yeah,
So it's asphalt, aggregate, and gravel. They calculated out 2% of total, and they were at 6.
the overall summary list.
Yeah.
Was correct. It was where it was split out into individual streets. There was,
Okay.
there was a formula error there, but we've sent out a corrected version of that.
One other, there was, I do want to mention something that I failed to do. That I did mention it to the chair. Mayor Rascal sent me, an email, sent me a note, that he wanted me to express to the panel that that when it comes to doing the road repairs, it's the number one priority. So if we find ourselves in an issue, if you find yourselves in an issue where you may need to go back to council and talk about additional funding or the funding for project having to be, that to please feel free. You need to feel confident and he wants to reassure you that council will do everything in its power to help you find the funding for the project.
Thank you.
So that's something that
Good to know.
Did I derail
you have to
the
say.
presentation? I didn't mean to.
Oh, no, not at all. Yeah, and apologies for not knowing what that.
Google
What
agreed
the-
with what you said.
Oh, Google.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, just,
Explain.
yeah, by way of background, I'm actually new to Texas as of July, so.
Oh, yeah?
There's some things that are a little bit different. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, so.
Okay.
Some of the, tech stat versus MODAT standards are a little bit different, so I'm not familiar with seeing it that way, but I had somebody else who's preparing this. But yeah, that does make sense.
Okay.
So, yeah, so I don't know that I have much more to present other than to answer questions, and then I guess, the panel will need to, decide where to go next for this. I know we had talked about
No.
coming to the council meeting and presenting some options considering the potential cost concerns.
Yeah, we talked about it, I have requested, this is, as a member of council, and as the council approved this project and approved the funding back in, 2 months ago. So for the meeting of November 9, I've asked that, representative from Cape Breeze, as well as the chair, and will, present a report, an update to council on the project and any issues that may have been identified. just make sure the council is up to speed and aware of where the project stands and if there's any changes or steps to take. So they will be, November 9th will be.
Well, I'll ask this, if we're not gonna have enough money to do these 9 streets, based on the estimate, what's the estimated overrun? How short are we going to be?
I think, we would prepare a detailed estimate before the meeting, but looking at this, I think we could potentially, with all the streets, exceed 300,000. So, taking one out, could get you close, and then on.
Pretty much raised potential drainage issues there. So that might be the one that there's additional costs that we haven't considered that might bring us, that's about 60% of total.
Yeah, there's different ways of approaching it. I've seen getting unit costs established by maybe a smaller quantity that you're sure that you're comfortable can be done under budget, and then provide for a bid alternate where the city could choose to increase the quantities if the bids come in favorably enough that you can do that. That's one potential approach. But yeah, a project like this, it's a little, it's a relatively smaller project, maybe in the eyes of a contractor. So that could be a question too, how competitive the bids will be versus if it were a larger project. But on the other hand, there may be a smaller contractor that specializes in this type of work and is looking for something like this. There's a lot of fluctuations right now in bidding.
Well, and one of the contractors I talked to did say that he had a fixed rate that dealt the cheaper square foot, but that if it exceeded, if we were over 100,000 square feet, he could bring his numbers down. And so that's why it would be nice to know if we can improve more streets and get a lower overall bid. But it's hard to know. It's an interesting market right now.
How does this RFP get put on the street? How does it put in front of people?
Well, it has to be bid. We have to advertise. And I put together a list of local newspapers because, my experience working with Cummings Paving for 5 years, they are kind of like cowboys. They look at their local newspapers. They don't read the Austin Statesman. There are some websites, but if we hit Dripping Springs, Blanco, Fredericksburg, that's where a lot of these contractors that specialize in something from 100,000 to $1 million. There's a segment of the market that's their niche, and those are the people we'll be looking for.
Yeah, you're right about that. That's great.
When they are hoping also email it to potential bidders.
I'm hoping.
Yeah, I think we should use all means.
Right.
We have.
Okay.
You meet the legal obligations of advertising in a publication, but there's websites that post bids regionally. You can, as you say, just send it directly to the contractors who have bid on work in the past.
When express an interest.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned to them earlier, I said, I'm keeping my fingers crossed that we have a decision and we have a city manager that would be available to assist, be here to assist both the panel and the activity and the procurement and everything. So everybody, good thoughts. Hopefully we'll have
Just
some.
don't slow us down.
It's been a long time.
So this RFP still needs to be approved by council, right?
Yeah, once they do the report, I would say, the meeting of November 9th, I would say the timeline, because we don't want to, you know, you have the winter, you have a window there to work, maybe come back, the December meeting for approval.
Probably, unless things go really well in November and we just need to call something special with our group to give our overall okay from the panel.
Yeah.
Because like I was pointing out earlier, it would be nice if we didn't get caught in the winter, if maybe there was some sort of a window in January where the weather is still not too cold to do this kind of paving. But otherwise, then it's gonna be back, it'll be something like April before we start. But
And that the NOAA forecast for the winter came out today, and it's supposed to be cold in January, February. But essentially summer in November and December.
we have to really have to do,
Yeah.
get somebody working through Christmas, although it won't be that long a process. But it weeks.
You can, and it takes time, you know, you do have to like, well, if you can have it, you know, January, February approved by council, you can move.
And I think there's a 14-day time requirement, but it's difficult to advertise for a month. So we've got to get it out there so everybody hears about it. Okay.
That was good. All right,
We keep interrupting.
thank you.
Are we asking, we're discussing RFP
Yes.
specifically?
Mhm.
Is it customary to put the not to exceed amount in RFP?
No, that's not something I've seen used before.
I've never seen the not to exceed amount in a GMP bid. That's something we want to leave in there, or, I mean, if I was bidding it, whatever my cost was, but if I estimated it and it came out was 180 to do the work, the bid I turned in would be 226.5.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Competitor might make it 226.4.
that's, you're right. I mean, there's that to look at too. It's just that, you see, I don't do municipal work for a living by any means. It's just, I do see GMP bids all the time. And I've never seen somebody show their hand like that.
Yeah, well, we're not accustomed to doing a GMP bid either, so,
Is there another way that how would you normally
It's
do it?
not fair.
yeah, I mean, we normally don't set any type of maximum. I mean, the bids just are what they are, and, you know, they come.
Are we doing this wrong by going with the GMP bid? And I think it's also two different things. There's one thing to do a GMP bid, there's another to do a GMP bid and tell everybody how much money you have.
Yeah.
At what point are we doing it? Give us your opinion. What point are we doing it wrong?
Yeah, I've never really seen either done. It's just you get bids and you have unit costs established, and, you know, if the prices come in too high, you just reject all bids and rebid.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's not something that's customarily done on road construction that I've seen.
Then there's a possibility we're doing it wrong.
And that's easy enough to take out of this. Just language.
Well, it's not a decision that I'm going to make for this group. I mean, if we're doing it wrong, there's no point in continuing to do it wrong. Let's get this right before it goes in front of council. What do y'all think?
Yes, and, because I was surprised at the length of the contract. We've seen a lot of small contracts and this was longer, but then when I read it, there was a lot of, pages of definition and things like
Yeah.
that. But I looked up contracts, cities that let bids and municipalities, and the contracts are around 25 pages. And they still comply with all the procurement and bid criteria. But I thought we could maybe just review that and make sure if these have already passed through other cities, we can, sometimes I wonder if we couldn't keep it a little simpler.
Is this a standard format that K3 uses?
Yeah, it's a standard format that a lot of the industry uses.
No, I'll say they're the best, they're the best bid instructions I've ever read in my life. That's, there's no excuse for turning in incomplete bid on this job because all of the facts are right there.
Yeah.
But it is, what is it, 165 pages long or is it 156?
156, yeah.
156.
I think most contractors are probably familiar with most of the forms in here.
There's probably three pages they flip to and that's all they care about. Yep. Yeah, I'm not in any way, criticizing the work that you guys did, but I just, seeing the amount of 227 in the document, that makes my skin crawl. I mean, what if we get back to bid for 150 to do all 9 streets? If we hadn't shown our hand, see what that bid looks like. What do y'all think?
I think it shouldn't be in a bid.
No, I wasn't expecting it to look like this.
Make it a motion to recommend that they.
Yeah,
The GMP contracts that or the GMP RFPs that I see, that ultimately go to contract, it's a guessing game on the contractor's part.
okay.
You get basically when the general contractor tells the subcontractor, you have to give me a GMP price to do this, you have to turn in a bid that is accurate. You gotta make sure all your costs are covered and everything, but they don't tell you what the ceiling is, and we're providing the ceiling.
I mean, in this case, since it's really based on unit costs, you're doing X amount of this and that, I don't know that it would really apply that well.
Okay, well, then I stand corrected, we should not be doing a GMP bid, but does it need to go to vote,
I
or you
think,
can?
my advice, you as a panel, once again, your ordinance is your decision to make. And if you believe that it shouldn't, you can make that you can make that an action, this panel, as part of the review of the RFP.
Do we need a motion and a second to do that?
You could make that motion, you probably don't.
Yes. To make it right.
I move that this committee corrects my mistake in demanding a GMP bid, and we do it the way K3's normally does it.
So the motion is to use the bid use the RFP that's already provided by K3?
We need to amend this bid, this RFP to remove for one, the maximum pricing of 227,000. We don't want that in there. And if that sours the ability to have a GMP price, then we don't need to do a GMP bid at all. It just needs to be a bid. And I apologize for trying to circumvent your expertise.
Oh, that's okay. I think we were maybe trying to figure out how to do it.
No.
Not that familiar with it, so.
Yeah, and what I do is the commercial construction, and it's a trick that the GCs pull on it by the maximum, the lowest price possible. They just don't give you this degree of, I mean, basically they give you something scribbled on a napkin and say, give us a GMP price. So,
Okay, can we repeat it? I'm not sure I got that motion. To use the RFP from K3's, but remove the maximum price of 227?
yes. Or remove any mention of what our budget is. You know, and thereby remove the GMP requirement.
Yeah.
I'll cross it. Maybe we need to get back a bid to do all 9 streets for 150 or something. I mean, they may be all 350, I don't know.
Okay, so did we get a second on that motion?
Second.
So we'll vote on that. And Chairperson Bailey,
Yes.
Vice Chair Abney,
Yes.
and Panelist Bloom.
Yes.
So by doing that, did torpedo the possibility of this going to full council next week?
I don't think so. Some more than.
I guess,
Oh, no, that's easy enough.
okay.
Makes no adjustment.
Sorry for sitting on down that rabbit hole.
Oh, no worries at all.
Well, thank you for being here today.
Okay, you have, council will have any more Dennis, do you have any more questions, concerns?
Just one question. For HMAC under 2.5 inches, there's no tapered edge on the, in per these tech stop details. Is there a benefit to not having a tapered edge on an HMAC surface? So, the street I drive into my house on every day, it doesn't have tapered edges on it, and it seems like those cave off. But it's also due to the fact that the street's not wide enough for two vehicles to pass each other without running off the shoulder.
Yeah, maybe, yeah, driving off the edge makes all the difference. I think we might agree with that.
I wasn't able to read all 156 pages. I went through and read things that caught my attention. Is there a provision for widening a street like that that's just simply not compliant? Are we gonna, like Brook Hollow, are we thinking about widening that to TxDOT standards, like a minimum standard, or is that part of the bid documents?
We're not widening anything. I mean, the standards with the hot mix asphalt are related to just leveling areas that may have settled.
Okay.
So it's not necessarily touching the edge of the street either. I mean, you also see some standards here where there are edge details where that would apply. But yeah, if you're going to widen, if you were to widen the street, then you definitely want to do more than just overlay it with a little bit of asphalt. You want
Yeah, you gotta go with the base layer and everything, yeah. I mean, Brook Hollow, the majority of Brook Hollow can be fixed by widening the street this much on either side. That was all. I don't know, I guess that's way down in the details.
But these are narrow streets, let's say particularly Wildwood Circle, and you've got trees right in, there's areas where it's 14 feet.
Yeah.
We're really not trying to tamper with any of the natural run.
We're not even talking about Brook Hollow. I'm sorry.
Yeah, right, we're talking about, streets with 14 homes or.
Yeah, all right, I'll stop you around the meeting.
Right. Okay. I guess I just have maybe a question or two about some terms. Construction photography. What is that?
Yes, I saw that at the end of the RFP.
And I think I read part of it, then I just got one out reading it. So,
yeah, let me, I may have to get back to you on that, but my understanding is it's just to take photographs to document conditions before work starts, so that there's no arguing later that, oh, we damaged this or that or the other thing.
That's what I read in there, Renee, is it's documentation of actual repairs in conjunction with accurate reporting of quantities of materials used. And it's way toward the end.
okay, all right.
You did read them. You're right where it was.
And then the rest barricades, reflex markers, those are pretty easy to understand, so. Do you have anything further?
No, I think, I know where I need to
This,
get ready for the council meeting and
okay, this guy,
we'll,
we're charging, so.
Okay.
Okay, there's a company,
Okay, so no further discussion on item 4. Item 5,
this is gonna be very, very brief. I just brought, the comprehensive plan has been approved by council. And in the process of the comprehensive plan, it now becomes the responsibility of planning and zoning to implement. So the next step should be to develop an implementation schedule. Within the comprehensive plan, there's a strategy that is about repairing all roads in the city of Wood Creek and creating a long-term maintenance plan. I just have the page of the plan because the plan is like 300 pages, and you're welcome to read it, but this is a specific page that would be the responsibility of the panel. It is not something you have, it is not a priority, and there are other things on the panel's schedule right now that are far more, that greater urgency, I would say that way. But, this is something for your information, and some things that I want to address is, there are the third bullet, pursuing grants and alternative funding, that's already in place. Councilmember Brummert, will most likely will be the person that would work with that. I found a company, GrantWorks, and this is a company that is going to be working with us to assist us in getting funding through grants and awards, and would maximize the funds available through the bond or through other sources. And the nice part about that is this is a company that works on contingency. So if we do not get the award, we don't owe them anything. There are 2 items on the agenda for the October 26th meeting that talk about engineering. And that's the reason I wanted to bring this up, because that is kind of like what the panel does. But it's a formality. It's a formality we have to hire, even though there's no financial, no exchange of funds at this time. We have to officially hire this firm to represent us in the process of grant searches, if you want to call it like that. So the grant staff is already in place. There have been meetings with the representatives from GrantWorks. They understand the needs of the city, and they also understand, giving us some advice on what might be a better option, which are the better option for us. So that's all for your information. And one of the things that people have mentioned to us is and it's one of the wishes of the citizens, is that there be some investment in traffic calming, that there's also some areas of drainage. So if those grants, if we're able to get those funds, there might be, then you can match the bond, then you can have more resources to do some of the things that we would like to see, such as traffic calming. And those streets in the middle of the road are indeed a great source of traffic calming. So that's just for your information. If there's the planning and zoning having the responsibility, if they need to, it will be Lydia Jones was the liaison from planning and zoning for the comprehensive plan. So if there's any need to provide information or input to the panel, she would be the person coming to you. Okay? That's just an informational material. That's it.
Thanks, Laura. Hey, about construction photography, page 129 is a specification section. It's a deliverable the contractor has to provide to the city. 4 pictures, progress pictures, and then the whole package has to be turned over with their application for final payment.
Okay, well, that makes sense.
And basically, it's probably going to be a thumb drive full of
Yeah,
photos,
right.
I guess.
Really handy. So, okay, and then I will communicate with Brian on where we are, and then I'll let the panel and liaison be aware of the progress before our upcoming meeting
Okay.
with council.
And you have my email address and phone numbers. Just yeah, check out anything. Yeah.
Okay, and with that, I think, we're doing well. Less than an hour.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, and you know,
And this meeting is
you need,
adjourned.
you need to teach council.
Yeah. Okay.
So you're ready to adjourn?
Yes.
Thank you. You need to teach council.
Yes.
I saw your story.
I really appreciate you being at the meeting.
I think so.
You're a strong, solid voice. And
Yeah, when are we gonna get the vote?
There's-
Yeah.
We're
we
going
need
to
get some
do
votes.
all the roads, period. So, thank you very
And I
much.
don't know why that's so
For
hard
your
to
patience.
understand.
Okay.
What's the point of convention? We're gonna do everyone's roads.
Yeah.
So,
And
And,
it's just to have a point,
I think you might be.
which is great.
I mean, this flyer, I don't know who or what Black Diamond is. This flyer that Bob Hendrick is passing out. There's 8 points on here. Every